the climate of the sports media that we live in, that when we don't have anything to talk about, you better believe we are going to suck a story dry like vampires. We're just going to find it and just get everything out of it. You know, you empty your tube of toothpaste and you're just squeezing the thing to death, trying to see if you can get every last bit. I mean, I do. I'm stingy, though. I don't like spending money on toothpaste. So I try and squeeze everything out of it that I could possibly squeeze out of it. And that is exactly what we do with news stories in the news media, especially the sporting news media in baseball season, because, like, what else are we going to talk about? The Braves are pretty much locked into second place. The Nationals, I mean, even without Strasburg, they're going to have to find some way to bolster that. But, I mean, they're not falling back anytime soon. I don't know. I mean, there's not a whole lot there. You know what I mean? So with regards to that, you got football coming back, college football coming back, and Hugh Freeze being the biggest story of it. And then, of course, the NBA, which refuses to go away. Like, this is just where we are with this now. And so you got Hugh Freeze, story as we know, called the escort service from his work phone multiple times in what Ole Miss officials describe as a pattern of behavior that got him fired without any severance pay, right? So, like, that in and of itself is a gigantic scandal. And then the scandal, of course, involving Houston Nutt, the previous head coach, who was being blamed for all of the NCAA infractions, and how he basically filed the lawsuit against Ole Miss the day before Ole Miss was basically supposed to be featured in SEC Media Days, and Hugh Freeze was supposed to go up on that podium and talk about stuff. Like, Houston Nutt just rammed it to Hugh Freeze right there in that moment. And I think deservingly so, because if it's true what Houston Nutt's lawyers say, that Hugh Freeze and those guys were essentially just giving Houston Nutt's name to the media anytime an NCAA question came up, then yeah, Houston Nutt is like, no, I'm about to clap you back, and it's about to hurt. And it's going to hurt hard. But the story gets even weirder. And it's the SEC. We should have expected this. Does anything just stay normal in the SEC? The answer to that question is, of course, no. Right? The story gets weirder. There is a Mississippi State football fan. He's the guy that found the number, right? Like, there was an original thinking that Houston Nutt and his lawyers found the number that Hugh Freeze had called and turned that over to Ole Miss and turned that over to the NCAA. That was originally what it was. But new reports are basically saying, no, a Mississippi State football fan played a part in bringing this whole down. Now, I think the Mississippi State football fan, those are sensationalized headlines, okay? This guy writes books, right? Like, this guy covers sports. He just also happens to be a Mississippi State football fan. Like, when you read the headlines, you think of just some Mississippi State football fan in his basement just requisitioning numbers and going, I've got Ole Miss now. Which, in fairness, the world that we live in, that would not have been shocking. But that's not what it was. Okay? The fan's name is Steve Robertson. He covers sports. He's been covering Mississippi State football since 2001. And when he came across Hugh Freeze's phone records, because he was doing research for a book he was working on, he found the number and turned it over to Houston Nutt's lawyers. And then the lawyers from there went on and did their business, right? So, like, it's not like this guy just was sitting in his basement going, how am I going to find a way to ruin the Ole Miss Rebels today? He essentially was like, no. I found this. This looks suspicious. And he turned it over to Houston Nutt's lawyers. Now, how is it that he knew about Houston Nutt's lawyers? Well, he was trying to write a book on Houston Nutt. Right? So and it's clear it's getting crazy, right? Because he would not have known Houston Nutt's lawyers. This is his quote. He blamed Ole Miss for bringing this on themselves because he said had they simply apologized to Houston Nutt, he doesn't know who Houston Nutt is. He doesn't know Thomas Mars, who is Houston Nutt's attorney. He doesn't know any of those people, and this story does not really ever see the light of day. Right? Like, it feels like what makes this Ole Miss story fantastic, what makes this story great and truly intriguing, is that there seems to be multiple levels of self-inflicted damage at every single level of this story. Right? Whether it's Hugh Freeze building himself and branding himself as this really Christian dude, having a morality clause in his contract, and then calling prostitutes, because, I mean, we say escorts to be nice, but he's calling prostitutes, man. So that's the level of self-inflicted damage. Or Ole Miss throwing Houston Nutt under the bus, and might I add, unnecessarily. Right? It's one thing to tell the NCAA, hey, look, we think it was the last guy that did all of this stuff. But when you start to turn around and tell the media, and every time a journalist texts you about, hey, what about this and what about this, you're like, nope, not me. It was the last guy. And Houston Nutt just got tired of hearing that. Like, that's really what it was. He just got tired of hearing it was his fault. Especially when he seems to believe that it was not his fault. And Ole Miss could have apologized any time in that time frame. They did not. And so you just have these connected instances of just self-inflicted damage. Like, none of this had to go down like this, right? At all. And to give you another indication, Steve Robertson's not just some Mississippi State fan. Because I've come across a number of stories. This is the one that I have in front of me is the one from Sports Illustrated. I came across one from SB Nation and a few other places. And the headline reads in all of them like he's just some guy. Right? Now, I did hear somewhere, though I haven't been able to substantiate it, I did hear that Mr. Steve Robertson has a Mississippi State hand tattoo. So there is that. But he's not just some dude. And to give you an indication of how not some dude this guy is, he is currently engaged in a legal battle with an unnamed Ole Miss booster trying to block the release of his name after the Mississippi Ethics Commission ruled in Robertson's favor that he be granted the names of the boosters accused of providing improper benefits to players. So he's not just stopping at Hugh Freeze. And I believe him when he says his goal was not initially to bring down Hugh Freeze, because he turned it over to the lawyers, right? Just said, hey, look, this looks suspicious and might probably help you in your lawsuit. But if he is a Mississippi State fan, which he does not deny in any of these stories, if he really is a Mississippi State fan, and the original story that all of these other reports are based on is based on a story from ESPN. Mark Schlabach is the writer there. If he is a Mississippi State fan, I can't imagine that he's not a little bit happy. I'm just saying. College football rivalries get serious. And look, I'm a Texas fan. If something magically brought down Oklahoma, I would be a little bit happy. Like, maybe it wouldn't have been if I were involved in it and somehow caused it, maybe it wouldn't have been my intention. But once it happened, it's like, I hate those guys. What do you want me to do? Right? And so, there is a level of you guys are simply saying what needs to be said when it comes to Steve Robertson and Houston Nutt. Both guys are putting out statements saying, look, we're not enjoying this. We're not trying to revel in this. And it's like, yeah, right. You're not trying to revel in this at all. Yep. Not you. You're not trying to revel in this at all. Right. I don't believe either of you. I believe this is what both of you have to say. You can't actually be perceived to be enjoying this, but I don't believe either of you. Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. Where this story continues, right? Like moving forward, is now the players that are left. They're left on a team that can't play in the postseason because of self-imposed sanctions to try and avoid the NCAA hitting the school too hard. So there's that. And you got the players saying, no, we're not going to change anything. We're going to band together. And I'm glad that they found some meaning in this. I am, because it's very possible that there are players that have found no meaning in this. And I think those people should be allowed to transfer. Like, they were brought into Ole Miss under the preposition that, yeah, we are going to be able to do something here. And that's not true anymore, right? Like, if a player gets brought into play and the circumstances shift drastically, I think they should be able to transfer out, right? And I think a lot of this with the players banding together and trying to set some kind of foundation is like what else they're going to do. Because if you transfer out, from what I understand, unless the NCAA chooses to grant you a clean transfer, you're going to have to sit out a year anyway. Might as well band together and make the best out of what you've got. But I don't think that means like, oh, yeah, the players that they're pulling together, this school means more to them than anything. Maybe it does, but I'm not buying that that's all it is. I am also buying that they have no other options. There's no other say-so in the matter here. I'm also buying a whole lot of that. So involved in this, of course, is quarterback Shea Patterson, who is considered one of the best quarterbacks in the league. And by the way, Shea Patterson wearing number 20 still? It's so weird to see a quarterback wear that number. I didn't know you could do that. Every time I see him, I'm like, who's that back? Who's that running back? Who's that tailback? Oh, never mind. It's quarterback Shea Patterson. But anyway, Shea Patterson, his father has come out to the media and said a lot of things about what's been going on, as you imagine, outspoken fathers are wont to do. And he called Houston Nutt gutless, of all things, and said that he ruined 3 kids' days. Right? He also said his son, Shea Patterson, is not going anywhere, echoing that sentiment of, like, we're just going to all buckle down and deal with this. Because, like part of it is like, yeah, where else are you going to go? You can go anywhere you want, but you're going to sit the year out? Like, unless you get that guarantee from the NCAA, I wouldn't try and transfer. Especially if you're Shea Patterson, because you might have designs on playing in the NFL. You can't afford to have the year off. Honestly. So, that being said, like, where else are you going to go? But I do take some umbrage to what it is that Shea Patterson's dad has said, Sean Patterson Sr. The reason why I have taken a little bit of umbrage with what it is that he said is, first off, he called Houston Nutt gutless, which to me is silly in a number of ways, right? First off, if Houston Nutt is gutless, his gutlessness is merely a reaction to Ole Miss's gutlessness, right? The university was being gutless first by attempting to peddle off blame onto a guy that might be innocent about it all. Like, right? Like, everything is him. That was essentially the strategy, is if anybody asks you about any of these infractions and any of these violations, we blame him. Even though when you look at the violations and infractions, like, a lot of them are in fact credited to Hugh Freeze. Like, what they're publicly saying and what is actually happening appear to be two very different things. But they were just going to blame Houston Nutt and hope that got them out of it. That seems pretty gutless, don't you think? So there's that level of it. And then there's the other level, which is that, I mean, Houston Nutt choosing to file his defamation lawsuit the day before SEC media days, especially the day before Ole Miss had their day, that's not gutless. That's kind of ballsy, right? Like that is specifically leveling the shot at them and saying, my goal was to hurt you today, right? You're like, you're not backing down from this at all. There's nothing gutless about confronting somebody to their face, which is essentially what that was. So I don't know that you'd call that gutless. That's my first gripe with it. The second gripe with it was that he was like, you ruined the day of 3 kids, one of which is his son, Shea Patterson. But I'm like, look, man, y'all have to stop doing this. You have to stop dragging in the players. You have to. Like, this thing is bigger than the players. And if you cared about the players and you knew there was a serious investigation going on, you'd give them the ability to transfer. You'd let them know what was coming around the bend for them. You would. You didn't. Okay? If you really cared about the players, right, would you not have put them and yourself in jeopardy by not offering improper benefits to some of them? Would that not have been a choice that you would have made if you really prioritized the players? And also, Houston Nutt is not coaching players. So what does he care? Right? Anytime he filed this lawsuit, it was going to be detrimental for some player, sometime, somewhere. Like, it was going to happen. Because if the lawsuit is true, then all of these investigations that the NCAA has going on with Ole Miss, I think rather prominently ramp up. Would have to. Would absolutely have to. So you tell me, right? And I say players because I'm a little tired of we're gonna recruit these guys, we're gonna call them young men, we're gonna say we're molding them into something, and then the moment you want to use them as a prop, the moment you want to use them as a pawn to say, look how bad this guy is, they become kids again. They become kids, right? Like, when you want to call them out, when you want to say they needed to make better decisions, when you want to say they could make better plays on the field, they're young men. They're men. When you want to say, hey, that guy filing that lawsuit at that time was unfair, they become kids. And they can't keep changing between kids and men to suit your needs. You're not doing them a favor, and you're not doing yourself any favors either. Makes no sense. So that's your update from As the World Turns right there. I mean, this is prime drama right now. This is drama season. This is drama season because who knew that Ole Miss would gift all of this to us? And we'll talk about more Ole Miss stuff later in the show because I want to talk about the future of Ole Miss. I want to talk about these further investigations at Ole Miss. And I also want to talk about Matt Luke, the offensive line coach, who's now the interim head coach of the football team, and what Ole Miss looks like now with him, because he's a different kind of dude than Hugh Freeze is. Hugh Freeze is charismatic and magnetic and warm and good to talk to, from what I've heard. And Matt Luke is just boring, like just a boring dude. So we'll get into all of that a little bit later. What else we have? We have Kyrie Irving stuff some more because that is also a drama. It's a Days of Our Lives, right? If this is As the World Turns, the other one's Days of Our Lives. Nick Chubb's a beast, and we'll get into why that's horrifying for the SEC. If you could not figure that out already, why would it be horrifying that Nick Chubb is a beast? But we'll get into more details. The Cowboys release Lucky Whitehead, who is a guy with another great name. And Arkansas is in must-win now mode. I don't know if they realize it, but they are. Right? But look at the names that we've got going on here, by the way. We've got Houston Nutt, Hugh Freeze, Lucky Whitehead. Those are the names in the Nick Chubb. These are the names in the news. Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
The Tennessee Valley's news, talk, and sports leader. Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
3, 2, 1.
Chattanooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM's news now.
Cops say after a search of a hotel room, they found a huge amount of methamphetamine, $23,000 worth of cash, and a 9mm handgun. Michael Wade Hensley was taken into custody. The police believe he's responsible for supplying a man with methamphetamine back in June who overdosed and died. A car crashed into the 401 building on Chestnut Street, smashing in brickwork and a window. Inspectors are going to be called in to assess the damage. Cops say they spotted a man whizzing down the highway at 98 miles per hour in a VW Beetle on I-75 near mile marker 6 at Bonnie Oaks Drive. The cops say he pulled off at the exit and went into a gas station. They arrested him there and charged him with a whole paragraph worth of charges. He was taken to Erlanger for a blood alcohol test, where the police say he assaulted the EMS workers there, causing a complete disruption of the emergency room. A barn is a total loss after a fire in Appison. The fire marshals are investigating to find out the cause. Russell Stroud, Nooga Radio News, now.
In-depth traffic, news, and information. Mornings on Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
Expect fair skies, warm and muggy weather out there through your nighttime. Overnight lows 72 to 74. For Wednesday, more heat, haze, and humidity. Highs 92 to 94. A nice late afternoon shower storm possible Thursday. More likely Friday. Highs dropping into the 80s. This forecast is brought to you by Hamilton Medical Center, featuring their neurosurgery and spine center open in Calhoun, Georgia. Stop putting up with back pain. For an appointment, 706-529-9041. And I'm Swarm Machine 12 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Hoare on Nooga Radio AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
Hi, this is Eric Pelton. Taxes, accounting, business advice. I've got a neat brochure, 12 ways to improve your business profits. Come on by for a free consultation and we'll give you a copy. E.J. Pelton Company, 332-3339.
I have the best steak selection in town. Name of the business is Don's Meat Shop, and I'm Donnie Raines. Just ask for Donnie. I make over 20 different types of sausages. Most of them are great for grilling. We have the best selection, best quality. We have the hard-to-find items. Don's Meat Shop.
Hi, I'm David Crockett, and I'm here with David Tulis, and we're having a little discussion over who's the number one Nooga centrist. If you want to keep up with free market ideas, then read Nooganomics.com. David Tulis, the blogger with the biggest pen.
The Tennessee Valley's news, talk, and sports leader. Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
Hello, Chattanooga. You're listening to AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. Clutch with Keon Rose is the show. Nooga Radio is the station. NoogaRadio.com is the website. And our phone number for your feedback is 423-800-8949. That's 800-8949 knuckleheads. And I think I might just have become an official SEC media member. So I've got that going for me, which is pretty nice. Got a nice SEC little package there in the mail at the station. I just was going through it. So that's pretty sweet, which is unfortunate because this segment I'm going back to the NBA. And the reason I'm going back to the NBA is because this Kyrie thing is strange. It's strange on all the levels that you would think it would be strange, right? It's strange because how does a guy with no leverage try to push for a trade? It's strange because how does a guy playing alongside LeBron James try to not play alongside LeBron James? Right? And it's strange because Kyrie wants to be the centerpiece of a team. And the list of teams he wants to be traded to, the Timberwolves, the Spurs, the Knicks, the Heat. And 3 out of 4 of those teams, he can't be the centerpiece on a team, right? He can't be the centerpiece in San Antonio with the Spurs because the head coach, Greg Popovich, is the centerpiece with the Spurs, right? Like he can't be the centerpiece down there. The Spurs don't do star players. The Spurs do star coach. If you want to be the centerpiece of the Spurs, tough luck. It ain't you. They pass the ball a lot. They move around a lot. It's not as much dribbling. And Kyrie, best handles in the game outside of Steph. It's a competition between those two guys. Loves to dribble. Loves to dribble. Right? So, like, maybe it's a fit, but, like, probably not. Minnesota, Jimmy Butler wanted to be the guy in Chicago, is going to Minnesota, where he is the most senior player by far, right? Because he's alongside Andrew Wiggins, Karl Anthony Towns, and those young guys. What, you thought you were going to show up and take it back from Jimmy Butler? Jimmy Butler has come to grips and come to terms with being in Minnesota and just decided, I'm going to make the best of this because it is a good team and I'm reunited with a good coach. You are not about to show up and take the shine away from Jimmy. And you can't do it in Miami because Dion Waiters thinks he's the centerpiece in Miami. Now, granted, if Kyrie showed up to Miami with Dion Waiters there, right? If Kyrie showed up to Miami with him there, Kyrie would be the best player on the team and ought to be the centerpiece. But Dion Waiters was delusional before. Dion Waiters is still delusional. Dion Waiters wants to be the centerpiece of that team too, and it's not going to end well. I promise you, it's not going to end well. And then the New York thing, I mean, that actually does kind of work. You know, they're dysfunctional still, but you'll have Kristaps. So that's pretty nice. You'll have Kristaps. I can't imagine he gets traded there and Melo's still there somehow. So, you know, you will be the centerpiece and you'll have another good guy. So, I don't know. The New York thing actually kind of works to me. The other three don't make any sense whatsoever. So, like, none of this is really making any kind of sense. The only thing that makes sense is that Kyrie has looked around and seen what happens when LeBron James leaves a team, right? Which is that when he leaves a team, they are terrible, right? Awful beyond anything you can imagine. When LeBron left Cleveland the first time, they were so bad, they were able to get the #1 pick and draft Kyrie in the first place, right? So you've got that. Then when he left Miami so torn up. Miami didn't have any options. They didn't know anything. And he just left. And then D Wade left. And they were forced to give lots of money to Chris Bosh. And like they just didn't have a plan because LeBron James didn't give them a plan. And now LeBron James only has 1 year left on his contract. And Kyrie is looking at LeBron and going, yeah, I've seen how that story goes. If LeBron leaves me, right? Like if this dude leaves me holding the bag, it's not about to be fun. Because like if Kyrie wants to be the centerpiece, he's got 2 years left on his deal. He could just wait for LeBron to go. It's LeBron may leave next year, and then you're on Cleveland and you're the man again. The issue is what it sounds like is that Kyrie does not want to play in Cleveland. He doesn't want to be left on that bad team. Right? Because the only person who seems to not know what Cleveland is like without LeBron is LeBron. Everybody else on that team knows. And Kyrie especially knows that Kyrie was the centerpiece of the Cleveland Cavaliers before LeBron James got there, and it didn't look good, right? The patient was dying on the table. Wasn't great. Kyrie wants to be the guy, but Kyrie wants to be the guy in a situation where he can win still, right? Because I've said this a number of times. People don't like to go backwards. We don't. When you upgrade anything, do you go back? When you get a better car, do you go back? When you get a bigger house, do you go back to an apartment? Do you go back to a townhouse? Do you go back to a smaller home? Of course you don't, right? When you get your own place. Because that's the evolution of most people. I used to live in my mom's house. Then I went off to college. Then I got my own apartment. then I got a bigger apartment, right? Next step is house. And I don't plan on going back in any of those areas, right? Like, I'm not going back to college to live in a dorm. I'm not going back to my mama's house. Like, it's just not happening. It's simply not happening. People don't go back, right? So Kyrie wants to be the focal point. Kyrie wants to be the guy. But Kyrie also doesn't want to go back to losing. Like, notice all the teams that he picked except for the Knicks. None of those teams are losers. And really, the Knicks, if you have Kyrie and you have Kristaps Porzingis, who is a guy that doesn't really need to be dominant on the ball, you'd only need to find a pretty solid third banana, and you'd have a pretty viable Eastern Conference team. Kyrie's looking at places he can also win, right? He doesn't want to be stuck under the shadow of LeBron James, but he also doesn't want to go back to losing. That's why you don't wait and stick in Cleveland, because if LeBron James leaves and you're stuck in Cleveland, I can only promise you one thing. I can't promise you a bunch of information. I'm not one of these guys that just speculates wildly. I can promise you one thing, though. I can promise you a lot of L's. A lot of them, right? That there's a bunch of games that having Kyrie Irving is good for winning. But Kyrie Irving is a brilliant scorer, an amazing ball handler, one of the best finishers at the rim in the history of the game, especially for a guy his size. But you know what? Kyrie, not a great passer, pretty poor floor general, not a great off-ball player, not a consistent three-point shooter, and a terrible defender. You can't build Cleveland around Kyrie, especially as currently constructed minus LeBron James. You will lose a lot of ball games. He'll be good for some wins. He'll be good for some great games. He won't be good enough. I think he has some awareness of that, and he wants to go to a place where he can win. He wants to be the guy and win, right? Because he's friends with Damian Lillard, and he's friends with John Wall, and he sees those two guys, Damian Lillard and John Wall. They get to be the centerpieces of their franchises as point guards. So why can't I? Why can't I have something like that? Because say what you want about the Blazers and Lillard, but they make the playoffs in the West. Yeah, the 8th seed, but they make the playoffs in the West. And the Wizards have no bench, but Eastern Conference semifinals. And both of those guys get to be the guy. That's what Kyrie wants. Like, maybe we don't play for a finals, but we compete. And I get to be the reason why. Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. So that's the Kyrie side of the story. The LeBron side of the story is a little bit different, right? Because Kyrie's people are upset at this whole thing. Because Kyrie he asked for the trade, and it wasn't like the story got leaked immediately. He asks for the trade, and it's about a week. It's about a week before somebody rats Kyrie out. And Kyrie's people think it's LeBron's people. That's what it is. Kyrie's people think it's LeBron's people. And now LeBron's mad. LeBron's mad because he never imagined that he would be accused of such a thing. Whether or not it's true, he never imagined he'd be accused of such a thing. Stephen A. Smith reported earlier today that LeBron James, quote, wanted to beat Kyrie's blank, let's say behind for our purposes. And LeBron went on Twitter and denied saying those words, but I don't think that the sentiment is off. He may not have used those words exactly, but I don't think that the sentiment is off. I do think that LeBron James wants to beat Kyrie's behind. I do think that. Because Kyrie went into that meeting, and Kyrie went into that meeting and made that phone call and did not tell LeBron James. Did not tell him. And you don't do that. Even though LeBron does that to everybody else, you don't do that to LeBron. right? It's like a hot girl. She's got expectations of you that she doesn't have for herself. Just you and other guys. This is like, if you're gonna do something, you call her, but you don't have to call you. She's the attractive one. That's how it is with LeBron. LeBron, when he's ready to leave Miami, doesn't tell Pat Riley, doesn't tell Dwayne Wade, doesn't tell anybody anything. He just does what he does. But if you want to leave LeBron, you better tell LeBron. So Kyrie's people think that LeBron didn't like it and leaked the information on it. Well, I do think that LeBron James wants to beat Kyrie's behind. I don't think that's like, if LeBron James says that's not what he said, then I'll just believe him. But I do think that feeling exists. The feeling of, I want to beat this guy's behind. I do believe that exists. But the question is, what do we do with LeBron in this? Because when it comes to LeBron, he is a guy he's the most dynamic player in sports right now. Okay? Everything he does, people watch. And he gets made out to be, I think, a guy that's more in control of situations than he actually is. That I believe that. He is a guy that gets to be in control of situations a lot because of who he is, because of the weight that he has, and because of the precedents that he set in the NBA. That I'm the powerful player. I walk when I want to. That's what he has set up. That's the precedent that he has laid before us. And it's hard to argue with it. Right? But how in control of everything is he? Because I heard today on Colin's show, which by the way is crazy, right? Jason McIntyre, who also writes at USA Today Sports. And I think Jason McIntyre, God bless him, is kind of a loon because he has concocted this entire plan whereby LeBron James is trying to leak all of these stories about his teammates and leak all of this stuff about Dan Gilbert so that LeBron James can create a narrative that he's the one that's being abandoned. Everybody wants to leave him. And that way he'll be justified when he's ready to leave next year at the end of his contract. And I just think this is crazy. LeBron James is a normal guy, right? Now, he may be bigger than the normal guy. He's 6'8", 230, and he's a basketball savant. He's certainly a basketball genius. But he's a guy. Nobody does stuff like this in their real lives. And this is where I mock sports reporting a little bit. Like we're trying to make some kind of drama. Like we're trying to make this stuff as the world turns and days of our lives and all of this other stuff. No, I almost 100% guarantee you LeBron's not thinking that. I'm going to create a narrative a year in advance so that when I leave, people pity me and not the other way around. You are not watching a TV show. This is not a TV show. This is just a guy's life. Okay? Stop trying to confuse Game of Thrones with the Cleveland Cavaliers. Right? Like SB Nation makes that sort of funny Game of Thrones parody involving NBA players called Game of Zones. It's decently funny. It's not the funniest thing you've ever seen. However, I think the sports media are trying to turn the actual NBA into this circus where it's like, yeah, now you have a guy that you are claiming is plotting a narrative a year in advance to make himself look better. And while I think that LeBron James is intelligent and smart and cool and capable of an awful lot, let's not be ridiculous. Because we were the ones that were like, well, LeBron James is the GM of the team. And that was the narrative that we, the media, were peddling. He's the GM of the team. He's the GM of the team. And then what happened when the actual GM got fired? He didn't get his contract renewed. He didn't get fired. But what happened when he didn't get his contract renewed? Oh, man, Cleveland's going down the toilet. Why didn't they bring back their general manager? I thought LeBron was the general manager. You can't have both, right? He's either pulling everybody's strings or nobody's. I think LeBron James is a guy that's very smart and savvy and good at reacting to stuff, right? I don't think LeBron James was plotting to go to Miami. I think he couldn't convince Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh to come join him in Cleveland because it's Cleveland, right? And then they went to Miami. He won in Miami, and Miami started falling apart. He looked back at Cleveland and thought, that's a young squad. I can go back to that squad. I might have a chance to win. The narrative is in my favor. I don't think he planned it all along, and he went with it, right? LeBron James is a guy that has invested in what apparently is one of the fastest growing pizza chains in this country. And what that tells me is he's got a mind like a venture capitalist. He understands where things are trending, and he finds the right trend and he rides it. This is not somebody who is some mastermind manipulating the entire NBA from Ohio in the offseason. What are you, insane? You have to be insane. What you are telling me is insane, right? And I read that story from Jason McIntyre on USA Today, and I was like, this guy's lost it. I mean, this guy's absolutely lost his mind. And by the way, Jason McIntyre's a smart dude. Mostly. Sometimes he says some stuff and it's just crazy. He had some stuff to say about the SEC the other day, and I was like, you're not qualified to talk about the SEC at all. At all. But on this, man, he's supposed to be a basketball guy. I'll listen to him talk about basketball. I won't listen to him talk about football because I don't think that Jason McIntyre honestly knows what he's talking about. But when it comes to basketball, I think he's really good. And dude, have you lost it? I mean, that's not normal. That's not normal, man. No, LeBron James is not planning and plotting some narrative from 1,000 miles out. No one can manipulate that easily, that well. Right? Like and is that even the narrative? Like, is his master plan working? Because we know Kyrie doesn't want to be under the shadow of LeBron anymore. But that's been obvious since LeBron showed up. I mean, did it need help? The narrative? I mean, did it need help? Like, we ride these narratives really hard, and we got to stop it. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Some of the stuff that people come up with, honestly, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't logistically work. Clutch with Keon Reynolds on AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
In-depth traffic, news, and information. Mornings on Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
Essential oils are an overlooked benefit. They're a remedy for allergies, sinuses, headaches, and sleep problems. Aches and pains? Let me help you live a better life. Hi, Loretta Lynn here. It's a free consult. Call me today. Look, I'll even give you a free bottle of essential oil. 423-605-4719. Loretta Lynn's Essential Oils. They've been around for thousands of years. They can even be an alternative to pesticides in your garden. Call today. That's 423-605-4719 and take control of your health.
Hi, this is Eric Pelton. Taxes, accounting, business advice. I've got a neat brochure, 12 ways to improve your business profits. Come on by for a free consultation and we'll give you a copy. E.J. Pelton Company, 332-3339.
Essential oils are an overlooked benefit. They're a remedy for allergies, sinuses, headaches, and sleep problems. Aches and pains? Let me help you live a better life. Hi, Loretta Lynn here. It's a free consult. Call me today. Look, I'll even give you a free bottle of essential oil. 423-605-4719. Loretta Lynn's Essential Oils. They've been around for thousands of years. They can even be an alternative to pesticides in your garden. Call today. That's 423-605-4719 and take control of your health.
This is Thomas DeMoss with Keller Williams Realty. I am a realtor in Chattanooga. We list and sell homes, work with buyers, work with home sellers. I have been involved in real estate for over 10 years. My background is as a real estate investor. That is what I bring to the table, is that real estate investor mindset. My job is to help you sell your house for the most money, employing the best marketing strategy and walking you through what can be a rather stressful process. So we are encouraging people who are on the fence or even thought about selling their house to give us a call. There's no obligation. We're just here to kind of have a conversation, let people know what the process is like, what the market is like, what values they can expect to receive. We work with buyers as well. I also have a buyer's agent that works exclusively with my buyers because we want to give our clients as much attention as we can. My cell phone number is 423-364-0028. Our website is northriverpropertygroup.com. That's northriverpropertygroup.com. We'd love for you guys to call us.
And now to our reporter in the field.
We asked Ray at Ray's Plumbing what's important for homeowners to know.
Some field line systems can cost upwards of $10,000. The bottom line is to save yourself money down the road. I would definitely recommend everybody with a septic that is not on county or city sewer to have an inspection done by a qualified professional. It'd be great if nobody did inspections on them for all plumbing companies. That's what we do to make a living. Not to scare anyone, but it should be in the back of your mind. The danger is the field line failing and costing thousands upon thousands of dollars and tearing your yard up. By preventative maintenance, you're saving yourself a large headache that may displace yourself and your family. That happens more often than you think. The waste is designed to stay in the tank, and that waste will build up over time. Even with treatment, we have to help that waste break down. Ultimately, preventative maintenance is the key that will keep you from spending $5,000 to $10,000 on replacing your septic system. The bottom line is to save yourself money down the road.
Call Ray at Ray's Plumbing, 421-6341, 421-6341.
My name is Trevor Ashley. I'm an attorney here with the law firm McCoon, Williams, Ashley, and Stanley. We have a show on Nooga Radio called Legal Bites, where we discuss legal topics of interest to our listeners: estate planning, business formation, and business transactions. Legal Bites, 11 a.m. on Wednesday.
Essential oils are an overlooked benefit. They're a remedy for allergies, sinuses, headaches, and sleep problems. Aches and pains? Let me help you live a better life. Hi, Loretta Lynn here. It's a free consult. Call me today. Look, I'll even give you a free bottle of essential oil. 423-605-4719. Loretta Lynn's Essential Oils. They've been around for thousands of years. They can even be an alternative to pesticides in your garden. Call today. That's 423-605-4719 and take control of your health.
Hi, this is Nadia behind the green door. You've had ice cream and you've had shaved ice, but have you had snow cream? It is amazing. It's light, airy, fruity snowflakes melting on your tongue. You need to come and see us. Highway 58, green door next to Hardee's.
Does your business have enough clients? Are you confused about how to stand out in today's saturated social media market? Do you feel lost trying to navigate the maze of marketing channels which are necessary in today's marketplace? Are you fed up with spending your time and money on employees who don't perform and marketing strategies that don't produce? Then you need Cindy's Choice. Cindy will solve your marketing problems with her innovative shared marketing management concept that will allow your business to have the benefits of a full-time employee that is actually out building relationships in the community on behalf of your brand. Cindy's low monthly rate includes advertising, employee management, public relations, and creative marketing strategies that produce. Cindy can bring this all to you at a rate lower than most advertising campaigns and for much less than the cost of hiring a marketing employee. Cindy's Choice is your trusted source, and Cindy will manage it all for you.
Hi, I'm Cindy. I focus on the prospects so you can focus on the projects. Call me at 423-661-4445. That's 423-661-4445. So you can become Cindy's Choice.
Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM knows your opinion is important. So call 800-8949. Agree or disagree. Call 423-800-8949. 800-8949. Nooga Radio, AM 1240, 92.7 FM, and 95.3 HD4. News, talk, sports. Nooga Radio.
Charge!
boots. They touched Yankee soil. Lay down your arms and step forward, Yankee.
What's the hassle, Schmassel?
My orders from General Lee is to hold the Macy-Dixie line, and no Yankees are crossing it.
The Tennessee Valley's news, talk, and sports leader. Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
WBLZ HD4 Ottawa, W224AZ Chattanooga,
WSDT Sunny Daisy Chattanooga.
Health care repeal proceeds in the Senate.
The motion is agreed to.
Jeff Sessions still on the job, but
I am disappointed in the Attorney General.
This is the CBS World News Roundup Late Edition. I'm Dave Barrett. It was close. Senators gathered after a push from GOP leadership and from the White House to act on repealing Obamacare. Here's CBS's Steve Dorsey.
Following an unusual outburst from protesters inside the Senate chamber, Republicans narrowly passed a procedural vote with Vice President Pence as tiebreaker. It's the first step towards dismantling Obamacare and a victory for conservatives like Texas Senator Ted Cruz.
We are going to see, I hope, a repeal of the disaster that is Obamacare that's causing millions of Americans to hurt.
But Democrats say they'll continue to fight. Minority Leader Chuck Schumer.
We have a darn good chance to beat this.
Steve Dorsey, CBS News, Washington.
Majority Leader Mitch McConnell wants the 20 hours of debate to start this week. Arizona's John McCain did vote in favor of this procedural measure, but he wants changes in whatever health care package his colleagues come up with.
I voted for the motion to proceed to allow debate to continue and amendments to be offered. I will not vote for this bill as it is today.
McCain had come to the Senate after flying from his home state where he has been battling brain cancer. The 80-year-old senator told colleagues,
I have every intention of returning here and giving many of you cause to regret all the nice things you said about me. And I hope to impress on you again that it is an honor to serve the American people in your company. Thank you, fellow senators. Mr. President, I yield the floor.
Senators stood and saluted John McCain as he returned today. There's a crackdown coming involving federal grant money to sanctuary cities. Here's CBS's Bill Rakoff.
The Justice Department is going to require cities who want to continue to receive federal justice assistance grant money to allow Homeland Security into any local detention facility while investigating an immigrant status. According to a DOJ official, cities would also be required to notify DHS 48 hours before the scheduled release of an undocumented immigrant so that federal authorities can assume custody.
Presidential son-in-law Jared Kushner spent about 3 hours today before the House Intelligence Committee, which is probing the Russia election meddling. On Wall Street, the Dow was up 100 points today, and the NASDAQ gained a point, but it wound up at another record high, 64.12. The S&P gained 7, and it was at a record at the close, 24.77. Now this.
Hi, I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans. Every day people ask me, Jay, did I miss out? Have the rates gone up? The answer is no. Rates are still low, and it's a perfect time to refinance your home, especially if your mortgage rate is higher than 4.25%. If you'd like to lower your interest rate and save thousands of dollars in interest without starting over on a new 30-year loan, a Quicken Loans Yorgage is what you're looking for. With our exclusive Yorgage, you can choose a term that works best for you, anywhere from 8 to 30 years. The rate today on an 8-year Yorgage is 3.25%, APR 3.75%. For 7 years in a row now, J.D. Power has ranked Quicken Loans highest in the nation for customer satisfaction for primary mortgage origination. And for the third year in a row, they've also ranked us highest in the nation for mortgage servicing. Call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to quickenloans.com. That's 800-QUICKEN.
For J.D. Power award information, visit jdpower.com. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLSConsumerAccess.org number 3030.
Attorney General Jeff Sessions coming in for criticism from his boss in the Oval Office.
This is almost unprecedented in a president attacking one of his own cabinet members in this way. The president appears intent on poisoning the water hole to see if he can get Sessions to move on.
That's constitutional law professor Jonathan Turley with George Washington University, and says White House correspondent Stephen Portnoy.
He's tweeted that Jeff Sessions is beleaguered and very weak. But President Trump hasn't said whether he'll fire the Attorney General.
We will see what happens. Time will tell.
At a news conference alongside the Lebanese Prime Minister, the president repeated his criticism of Sessions for accusing himself from the Russia investigation.
I think that's a bad thing, not for the president, but for the presidency.
Earlier, new White House Communications Director Anthony Scaramucci said Mr. Trump seeks the kind of relationship with an Attorney General that JFK had with his
In-depth
brother.
traffic, news, and information. Mornings on Nooga Radio. AM 1240. Chattanooga Radio. AM 1240 and 92.7 FM's news now.
Cops say after a search of a hotel room, they found a huge amount of methamphetamine, $23,000 worth of cash, and a 9mm handgun. Michael Wade Hensley was taken into custody. The police believe he's responsible for supplying a man with methamphetamine back in June who overdosed and died. A car crashed into the 401 building on Chestnut Street, smashing in brickwork and a window. Inspectors are going to be called in to assess the damage. Cops say they spotted a man whizzing down the highway at 98 miles per hour in a VW Beetle on I-75 near mile marker 6 at Bonnie Oaks Drive. The cops say he pulled off at the exit and went into a gas station. They arrested him there and charged him with a whole paragraph worth of charges. He was taken to Erlanger for a blood alcohol test, where the police say he assaulted the EMS workers there, causing a complete disruption of the emergency room. A barn is a total loss after a fire in Appleton. The fire marshals are investigating to find out the cause. Russell Stroud, Nooga Radio News, now.
In-depth traffic, news, and information. Mornings on Nooga Radio. AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
Expect fair skies, warm and muggy weather out there through your nighttime. Overnight lows 72 to 74. For Wednesday, more heat, haze, and humidity. Highs 92 to 94. An isolated afternoon shower storm possible Thursday. More likely Friday. Highs dropping into the 80s. This forecast is brought to you by Hamilton Medical Center, featuring their neurosurgery and spine center open in Calhoun, Georgia. Stop putting up with back pain. For an appointment, 706-529-9041. And I'm former Team 12 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Core. On Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
Now, me being a radio guy, I'm really not good with vehicles. Never changed my own oil, can barely change a tire. And sometimes when I hear a clanking, I just turn the radio up louder. Not a real good idea. So I need to be able to trust someone when they look at my vehicle. Well, I found the guys. Locally owned and operated here in Chattanooga. It's Precision Tune Auto Care. They're your neighbors. There's 3 locations in Chattanooga. And since they're Nooga Radio's official oil change center, they're going to extend the great deal they give to us to you. Just $20 for a standard oil change. Can you imagine that? $20 for a standard oil change. You're in and out in no time. $20 for a standard oil change at Precision Tune Auto Care. And they treat all of their customers like family. With show and tell, they'll show you what's wrong, point out the problems, and tell you exactly what it will take to get fixed. They really do have pride in what they do at Precision Tune Auto Care. Precision Tune Auto Care with 3 locations. 2125 Gun Barrel Road, Chattanooga, 4221 Hickson Pike, and Highway 58 next to Dunkin' Donuts. Call 602-5955. That's 602-5955. Precision Tune Auto Care.
Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM knows your opinion is important. So call 800-8949. Agree or disagree. Call 423-800-8949. 800-8949. Nooga Radio, AM 1240, 92.7 FM, and 95.3 HD4. News, talk, sports. Nooga Radio.
Hello, Chattanooga. You're listening to AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. Clutch with Keon Rose.
is the show. Nooga Radio is the station. NoogaRadio.com is our... And the Ole Miss news continues to move forward. Mississippi State fan and sports writer Steve Robertson is a guy that played a key role in Hugh Freeze resigning from Ole Miss. And originally it was believed that Houston Nutt and his lawyers unearthed the phone number that brought down Hugh Freeze. But actually, it was Steve Robertson, who is a Mississippi State fan. And he came across the number and forwarded it to Thomas Mars, Houston Nutt's attorney. And what makes that particularly interesting, this entire story, is it seems sort of relevant that it was a Mississippi State fan. Like, if he was an Ole Miss fan, does he not forward the information? Or if he's an Alabama fan, or if he's a fan of any other school, right? But Mississippi State is the direct in-state rival of Ole Miss. So it feels like you would have a lot to gain. But when the stories say Mississippi State fan, this is the Sports Illustrated headline. Mississippi State fan played role in Hugh Freeze resigning, right? And let me see if I can find the SB Nation version of the story. No, I don't have it. But essentially, it was a similar thing. It's like Mississippi State fan brings down Hugh Freeze, and he's not just some guy. Okay, he was trying to cover. He's a sports writer, and he was trying to write a story on Houston Nutt and the defamation case. Is what he was working on when he came across the number, and he Googled the number, and up came an escort service. So he forwarded it to the attorneys. This wasn't just some dude in his basement going, "How can I bring down the rebels today?" Like every story makes it seem like that. It's not that. Okay, it's not just some guy. So we can clear that up a little bit. But another thing that I think is interesting about this story, you're listening to Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and 92.7 FM, just talking about Ole Miss some more, because why the heck not? There's a lot there to cover. But Steve Robertson's been getting death threats for forwarding the number to Houston Nutt's lawyers. And I'm just appalled by the idea that you could send death threats to that guy for this. Because what you're essentially saying is, this is your fault, right? Like other death threats, when they get sent to places, I can't understand why you would send death threats to people if you're a human being and you have a heart and you have a soul of any kind. Why you would just go around threatening the lives of others, right? That I can't understand. But in terms of the direction that these death threats get aimed, I can understand why you would aim it there, right? The referee that Kentucky fans feel like he blew that game for them, if you recall, in the NCAA tournament, and people started sending all of these horrible things to the man's business and stuff, and death threats to him as well. I can't understand sending him death threats, but I can understand why you would direct it at him, because you felt like he was at fault. And for this, what you're saying is this Mississippi State fan, Steve Robertson, who is a sports writer. I should probably introduce him as sports writer, Steve Robertson, who just happens to be a Mississippi State fan. He's a guy, he's getting death threats, and it's crazy to me because what the fans who are sending those death threats to him are saying is, this is your fault. This is your fault. And I would beg to differ. This is Hugh's fault. Nobody made him call an escort service. Nobody made him do that on his work phone, right? Like, no one made him call the escort service, use a bad device to do that on, and then be really bad at lying and covering it up. Like, the only person here to blame for that is Hugh Freeze. No one made him do that. He made a call to a scandalous organization on a public government phone. How else was that ever going to end but poorly? How else was that ever going to go down but badly? Don't shoot the messenger, right? All he did was forward the number. Blame the guy who dialed the number, apparently multiple times. Blame him. It's not okay to send death threats to anybody, but death threats give you a good idea of who it is that people blame. You're blaming the wrong guy. You're blaming the wrong guy. Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. So Matt Luke is the interim head coach at Ole Miss. And Matt Luke is fascinating to me to a degree because he is, in a lot of ways, not at all Hugh Freeze, right? Not particularly outgoing. He seems like a nice guy, but he's not coming across as interesting or fun. Can Matt Luke keep this job? Because once you get to be the interim head coach, I think all of them try to keep the job. The deal here is, can you keep the job, right? Because we've seen it happen in places where people have been fired before. Ed Orgeron gets to be the interim head coach at LSU, and Ed Orgeron being as Louisiana as Ed Orgeron is, Ed O had no intentions of giving that job back. Like, the moment they gave him that job, it was impossible to pry it from his fingers. He was ready to keep that job. He won enough football games. They were competitive, and the kids really seemed to like him as far as the recruits go. And you can tell from LSU's recruiting, they did a good job recruiting. So they really seem to like him. So there's that. We'll see if he's truly earned it this upcoming season. I think he's going to be fine. But you knew when Ed Orgeron took that job, like, he was not giving it back. He was just not giving it back. No. But Matt Luke, I don't know if he's the guy to keep the job. Now, if he wins enough football games, he might have to keep the job, right? Even if he does come off as a pretty boring guy, which I don't think long-term really helps Ole Miss, because I think Ole Miss and Oxford, that area, needs as much buzz as you can possibly give it, right? Anything. What you'd really want is some guy that just oozes charisma to really be the guy running the show. But in the short term, boring is great. Boring is good. There are some jobs for which boring is the best part of the job, right? Ask any security guard, ask any cop, ask any firefighter, right? When the night's boring, was it a good night? Because you don't want an active night. You don't want an action-packed night. If you are a guy in one of those jobs, boring's good sometimes. Boring's fine. Right? Like, this is why a lot of people are worried about the president. It's just kind of like, whether or not you think he's doing a good job, it's every day something happens. I think a lot of conservatives and a lot of Trump supporters would be like, yeah, we'd like a boring week. We'd like a boring week. Sometimes boring's good. Sometimes there's nothing wrong with boring. Nothing at all. Right? Like, sometimes boring is absolutely okay. Except, in the long term, you want that buzz. Can Matt Luke keep this job? Maybe. And he might be more hands-off, which I think actually helps, right? Because your offensive coordinator is going to be able to cut loose. Matt Luke is an offensive guy, and he's one of those people that's just like, you know what? I'm gonna let the people who run the offense run the offense. Let the people who run the defense run the defense. I think by being more hands-off, Matt Luke actually gives himself a chance to succeed here by just letting the specialists do what they do, right? The same thing that I talk about being the opposite of the Les Miles thing, where Les Miles is a guy that couldn't be hands-off enough with the offense. He's not an offensive guy, couldn't let the offensive coordinators do their thing, and as a result, LSU frequented a lot of games where they scored no points. You know, because he couldn't back off. Matt Luke's personality appears to be one that would allow for people to just do what they do, which helps, you know, which absolutely helps. So we'll see what's going on there with Ole Miss and Matt Luke as the season continues to progress. And also, you know, I said if Matt Luke is able to win, they'll be fine, right? But that's the issue here. Pretty early on in their schedule, it gets kind of tough for Ole Miss. It gets kind of tough for Ole Miss because they get Alabama September 30th. They get Auburn October 7th. It's not clean. And they play Cal before the bye week before Alabama. And Cal is not a great team right now, but Cal's not a slouch. Pretty early on, they catch Alabama and then Auburn back to back. Then they catch Vandy, which we know about what it is to be in a low-scoring affair with Vanderbilt. Then they get LSU. Then they get Arkansas. Then they get Kentucky. Like they get the conference in like back to back to back to back. Essentially, it's a little bit of a gauntlet for them to run through. It is. I don't know how many wins Ole Miss is going to get this season, but my money's not on not very many, right? And I was one that didn't believe they were going to get that many when they had Hugh Freeze. So I'm not entirely certain where Ole Miss goes from here, and if Matt Luke can be the guy. He's facing a very tough schedule. He doesn't have a whole lot of experience head coaching. This could be a rough season for Matt Luke and Ole Miss. The question is, would you blame Matt Luke for it by the time it was all said and done? Like, is there anything that he can do, or is he already fighting an uphill battle? That's the real question. Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. Nick Chubb is a beast. Just jumping to Georgia right now, like because Nick Chubb is an absolute beast. He was in the gym working out and squatted 600 pounds. So I'm going to go ahead and say maybe the knee is fine now. Maybe Nick Chubb and the knee are fine now because dude squatted 600 pounds. And Nick Chubb and his newly found leg strength, if you are in the SEC East, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. If you are a player that is going to have to find a way to tackle Nick Chubb this season, I'm sorry. Because that was part of what Georgia struggled with last year was Nick Chubb came back, he had one good game, and we just never saw Nick Chubb again. And part of it's not his fault as far as what he could have done in those games, right? He just wasn't right from the moment that he came back. And I was one that thought that he came back too early. Okay, I've seen this before. Guys rush back from knee injuries in an attempt to be there for their team. Like their heart is in the right place, but you've got to let your body heal. You just have to. You cannot rush the healing of your body And the only person I've seen do it successfully in my whole life is Adrian Peterson. And even he didn't look good by his own standards. You tear your ACL, let your ACL heal. Right? We had Adrian Peterson do it. He wasn't the same. We had Robert Griffin III do it. He wasn't the same. We had Kyle Schwarber do it in the World Series last year, and he hasn't been the same. Kyle Schwarber has been terrible this season. Like, it doesn't seem to matter what sport. If you rush your knee injury, you're not going to be the same when you get back. And that's what happened to Nick Chubb. He just wasn't right when he got back last year. Well, I think the leg strength is back now. And I think that now we are going to get the most terrifying version of Nick Chubb. Right? Because Nick Chubb might be one of those guys that just, he heals quickly. You know, he's just got one of those bodies where it's just like, wow, you are just genetically gifted and there's nothing else to do about that. Most of us are not. But even with all of that, it's still, for me, it's got to be a little bit paramount that, yeah, you don't rush back. Don't. What do you have to gain from that? Right? Like, if you re-injure yourself again, let your body heal up, be in a right place, and then come back. And Nick Chubb's going to be punishing people this year because I think he's going to be healthier this year than he was last year. You know, and I don't know that the East is necessarily ready. And I think actually, I mean, and it should be obvious, but it's going to open up a lot of things for Georgia. It's going to open up a whole lot of things. And I can't wait. I can't, because like Sony Michel, you can play Nick Chubb and Sony Michel on the field at the same time because Sony Michel can be a receiver, right? And that to me is also a scary prospect. That now you have your lightning and thunder combination with those two guys. And Jacob Eason, a year further into this system, just another year of maturity, of comfort. Now you're not a freshman. I think he gets better. I think having Nick Chubb helps. I think having Nick Chubb take some pressure off of him. But good Lord, 600 pounds? Oof. I mean, my condolences to the rest of the SEC East. I don't know how you're going to bring that guy down on a regular basis. Because he was already a monster before the injury. Like, he was already beastly before he got hurt. Right? And now it appears as though he has gotten stronger. Also, how old is Nick Chubb? Why does it feel like Nick Chubb's been in school forever? Am I wrong about that? Why does it feel like college was 6 of the 4 best years of Nick Chubb's life? Because like I want to know, like it seems like he shouldn't be eligible to play. He's so old. You know, not that guys haven't been eligible beyond that, but it's not even like a graduate thing. Like it just feels like Nick Chubb has just been there for always. How long has Nick Chubb been at Georgia? Like I'm legitimately curious now. So coming up in the show, I do want to talk about the Dallas Cowboys situation because I feel like a couple of things. One, I feel like Ezekiel Elliott looks like an Ewok. But secondly, I feel like the Cowboys are being very hypocritical with this Lucky Whitehead thing. They released Lucky Whitehead the other day. Lucky Whitehead is a guy that you know, had he not been released by the Dallas Cowboys, he might probably have been a guy that you'd never heard of before in your life. And now he's big news because the Cowboys released him. And the way that they released him appears to be very controversial. And it's very similar to the Ezekiel Elliott situation, which they handled very differently because Ezekiel Elliott is a very different kind of player, if you catch my drift. I also want to talk about Arkansas. I think Arkansas needs to be in a win now mentality. Not that they weren't before, but there has to be a certain level of looking at the SEC West and going, there's enough down years going on here and enough chaos going on here. and our team is good enough. We've got a quarterback and a running game and everything else that's good enough that we really ought to contend. And I just feel like now, right? I'm finally joining the chorus of fans. But I think now more than ever, it is put up or shut up time for Brett Bielema. Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
The Tennessee Valley's news, talk, and sports leader. Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
3, 2, 1.
Chattanooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM's news now.
Cops say after a search of a hotel room, they found a huge amount of methamphetamine, $23,000 worth of cash, and a 9mm handgun. Michael Wade Hensley was taken into custody. The police believe he's responsible for supplying a man with methamphetamine back in June who overdosed and died. A car crashed into the 401 building on Chestnut Street, smashing in brickwork and a window. Inspectors are going to be called in to assess the damage. Cops say they spotted a man whizzing down the highway at 98 miles per hour in a VW Beetle on I-75 near mile marker 6 at Bonnie Oaks Drive. The cops say he pulled off at the exit and went into a gas station. They arrested him there and charged him with a whole paragraph worth of charges. He was taken to Erlanger for a blood alcohol test, where the police say he assaulted the EMS workers there, causing a complete disruption of the emergency room. A barn is a total loss after a fire in Appleton. The fire marshals are investigating to find out the cause. Russell Stroud, Nooga Radio News, now.
In-depth traffic, news, and information. Mornings on Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
Expect fair skies, warm and muggy weather out there through your nighttime. Overnight lows 72 to 74. For Wednesday, more heat, haze, and humidity. Highs 92 to 94. An isolated afternoon shower storm possible Thursday. More likely Friday. Highs dropping into the 80s. This forecast is brought to you by Hamilton Medical Center, featuring their neurosurgery and spine center open in Calhoun, Georgia. Stop putting up with back pain. For an appointment, 706-529-9041. And I'm Swarm Machine 12 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Orr on Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
Hi, this is Eric Pelton. Taxes, accounting, business advice. I've got a neat brochure, 12 ways to improve your business profits. Come on by for a free consultation and we'll give you a copy. EJ Pelton Company, 332-3339.
I have the best steak selection in town. Name of the business is Don's Meat Shop, and I'm Donnie Raines. Just ask for Donnie. I make over 20 different types of sausages. Most of them are great for grilling. We have the best selection, best quality. We have the hard-to-find items. Don's Meat Shop.
Hi, I'm David Crockett, and I'm here with David Tulis, and we're having a little discussion over who's the number one Nooga centrist. If you want to keep up with free market ideas, then read Nooganomics.com. David Tulis, the blogger with the biggest pen.
The Tennessee Valley's news, talk, and sports leader. Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
You're listening to AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. Clutch with Keon Rose. That is the show you're listening to. Nooga Radio, that's our station. And NoogaRadio.com is our website, which I believe to be great in large part because of its simplicity. You just go there and listen to the shows. To all of them, if you'd like. You know, at your computer at work, just open a tab. That's all. I'm not asking for much. I think what I'm saying is a pretty reasonable thing to say. So yeah, I had it recorded. I went back and watched the Open Championship, the run that Jordan Spieth had from 13 to 18. Yeah, man, that might be the greatest 5-hole stretch in the history of golf. Right? Got on some golf forums and started talking to some other people who know more than me about this stuff. Might be the best 5-hole stretch in the history of golf, is all I'm saying. That is a brilliant run. And it's what is all the stuff that is exciting about golf, that you've got these highs and lows in the same tournament. But I don't know that I've ever seen anybody reeling in the way that Jordan Spieth was reeling, because that guy was in a tailspin, right? Like when he's at 13, hitting hitting his shot from the practice course. What do you do there? Right? Well, like what do you think about the rest of this round? Do you honestly think you can win it? Because I don't. And somehow he didn't let the doubt creep into his head. He didn't let any of that stuff creep into his head. And went on an unbelievable run. I've just never seen anything like it. And I've been watching golf for a while. I don't watch every tournament, and I don't know everybody, right? Like the U.S. Open introduced me to Brooks Koepka, but I have not seen anything quite like that, because I remember when I believe it was the U.S. Open with Rory McIlroy, where Rory started going on his tailspin, and the hashtag on Twitter that was just trending was "Poor Rory," because we just all saw this guy imploding, and we were like, we hope he breaks out of it, and he just never broke out of it. And I would argue Rory hasn't quite been the same golfer since. Right, he's won since, but like there was a certain allure about Rory where it's just like, okay, we're seeing Tiger Woods' star fading, and Rory was kind of like, no, don't worry about it, I got next. And after that, it was like, he's going to be good, but like we just don't have a Tiger replacement. And can you imagine where golf would be if Jordan Spieth had just fallen apart yesterday? Because I think golf needs Spieth and McIlroy. I think it needs them both, and I think it needs them both performing at a high level. Like it needs both of those guys being in a position where we think, okay, you can win, right? Because like you can tell that Jordan Spieth is special, right? Like even when he was at 13 and he's hit the ball into the rough and decides to take the unplayable and is hitting from the practice course. He's directing traffic. He's telling people, hey, you with the hat, get out of the way. And he's telling his caddy, like, dude, you cannot be standing there. You've got to move. And he's just pointing people around. He's talking. He's verbal. And it's weird because it sounds more mature than what his age actually is. What is Jordan Spieth, like 25? Like he sounds like he's been doing this forever. Like, no, this is only his third major that he's won. It's unbelievable. It sounds like he's been doing this forever. I don't know. I was just impressed by that. I rewatched it and I was like, I can't believe that guy did that. Like, I just can't believe that happened in that way. You know? Can't believe it. It's one of those things that it's hard to wrap your head around how really just brilliant he played coming down the stretch. Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. So I'm going to start with the Cowboys, and I'll end with the Arkansas thing, because the Cowboys interest me, because what are they? They don't know what they are. They want to be the guys where it's just like, look, it's you can play, you get on the squad, but also there's a level of discipline that you've got to have going into things. The idea that if you're going to have a certain level of chaos, that the chaos at least had better be organized, right? I was talking last week to Coach Hayden Cole, the head coach of the Chattanooga Eagles, the GDFL team, the Gridiron Development Football League team around here, they are, by the way, first in their division. They earned a bye in the playoffs. Just talking about a little bit about his coaching philosophy, because that to me is stuff that very much interests me. Like, what do you do when it comes to controlling a bunch of guys? They're all grown. Why should they be listening to you, right? And there are a couple of ways you can do it. You can do it the Bill Belichick. I mean, there's not a couple of ways, but there are two extremes, I think, to which you can do it. You can do it the Bill Belichick way, which is we are a machine, essentially. We're going to be very regimented. If you don't do it my way, you can get out, right? That's the Belichick way. That's the Patriot way. That no player is bigger than the organization. And if you don't like it, you can step off. And we saw it with Randy Moss, right? Like Randy Moss led the Patriots to their best regular season of all time and could not make the organization not about himself. And Randy Moss was out there on the next thing smoking, like just gone. Or you can do it the Pete Carroll way, which is the other extreme, the Seahawk way. Pete Carroll likes chaos. He's absolutely and totally cool with chaos, totally cool with players policing themselves. Pete Carroll's thing is, I'm going to bring in the right kind of guy. And then I'm going to let that guy do what that guy does. If that guy's vocal, he's vocal. If that guy's quiet, he's quiet. If he swears a lot, he swears a lot. If he's a Christian, he's a Christian. If he's not, he's not. It doesn't like the Pete Carroll just does not care. There is no single form of unity, but there is enough control that Seattle doesn't implode. I mean, like from the rumors and the reports, like Richard Sherman hates Russell Wilson, hates him. But it doesn't matter. Like, this has not imploded. It hasn't stopped them from winning their division again and again and again. It hasn't stopped them from making the postseason. It hasn't stopped them from being legitimate Super Bowl contenders annually. None of this stuff has really slowed them down. Because there's a certain level of control that's being exhibited there, right? Chattanooga Eagles like the idea of the controlled chaos. The Cowboys just seem like they're about to spiral into just chaos. Just regular chaos. Chaos without control, it's just chaos. You know what I mean? So they're spiraling into that because I had an issue with Ezekiel Elliott, who allegedly punched a DJ at a club. Still disputes about that, right? The police showed up. He was not arrested. But I saw a picture of the DJ's face. Somebody punched him, and somebody punched him really hard because that dude's nose was in a shape that a nose ought not to be. I'm not a medical physician, but I think I know what shape a nose ought to be in. And shaped like the letter Z ain't it, right? Somebody hit that dude hard enough to destroy his nose. And some people say it was Ezekiel Elliott, and some people say it was not. And that has not yet been substantiated, right? Which makes sense that the Cowboys haven't disciplined Ezekiel Elliott over that, right? He was in a situation, he was there, he was at the club. But until there is some definitive report as to whether or not Ezekiel Elliott actually hit that guy, there's really not much you can do, even though it is unwise for him to be anywhere near that, right? Because of the situation that he's currently embroiled in, where he's, got a domestic assault case that's still being worked out. And he had the thing on the St. Patrick's Day parade where he lifted up that girl's shirt, and all of these other moments of and the other thing that he had where he was just speeding in his car, and all of these moments where Ezekiel Elliott, who does for all the world look like an Ewok, I'm not sure why, Ezekiel Elliott is exhibiting like the poorest of judgment. Like, this is just another thing. But it's still, if you don't have the proof that he actually did the thing, you can't really discipline him for it, right? This is where it gets interesting with that team. Because somebody's going to have to be the example, right? Somebody's going to have to be disciplined. Otherwise, you lose the locker room. And here's where it gets crazy. Lucky Whitehead, who is a receiver, who, and if we're completely honest, might have made that squad, but probably wasn't going to make the squad anyway, was described as having been involved in a crime that he says he was not involved in. He said he was not even in the state when that happened. But a witness described a person that looked exactly like him. So he's out of the state. He misses his court date for this crime that he was supposed to have committed, and the Cowboys release him. Lucky Whitehead is all the while contending that he did not do it. He wasn't there. It wasn't possible. Why are you releasing me? I don't have a chance to defend myself. This is unfair. And then the police come out and say, yeah, it wasn't him. A witness described somebody that looked like him. We put a warrant out for his arrest, but it was not him. Oops. Too late, though. Lucky Whitehead is now out of a job. But here's the thing. The Dallas Cowboys did not wait to see if this would be substantiated. They didn't wait to see how the investigation was going to go, right? Like, we've got Ezekiel Elliott in a couple of impending investigations. We got Lucky Whitehead in none. Lucky Whitehead didn't even get to the part where the investigation was impending because he had already lost his job. And the Cowboys are trying to put out this strong, firm stance of like, we're just not going to tolerate that kind of behavior. But what it really looks like is that you're not going to tolerate that kind of behavior from a guy who's not a star, right? Lucky Whitehead's not a star. He's not going to be a star on this roster anymore. And he's not going to be a star on anybody else's roster if he gets the chance to be signed anywhere else. He didn't do anything wrong. And the Cowboys didn't even wait to find out that he didn't do anything wrong. But trust me, they seem to have all the patience in the world for Ezekiel Elliott. They don't mind waiting to find out every single fact about Zeke. Why? Because he's Ezekiel Elliott. Because he's the star running back. Because he is the guy that I think makes their team tick. And you can talk about the offensive line and you can talk about Dak Prescott. But it's not like just any dude was running behind that offensive line. And it's not like Dak Prescott and his numbers were lighting the world on fire. Dak Prescott played well. The offensive line still needs a talented guy who goes in all the right places. And if we've learned anything from Trent Richardson, it's that simply having an offensive line make giant holes for you doesn't necessarily mean that you can see them. So Ezekiel Elliott, I think, is the straw that stirs the drink for that football team, and I don't think that they're willing to let him go and part with him. And I don't even blame them for that. But I don't have a problem calling you out on the obvious hypocrisy that comes with being involved with a player who's a star, a player who's not a star, and the very obvious ways that you are treating those guys differently, right? And if your tone is to set in the locker room, we're not going to stand for guys involved in reckless behavior, then all you're saying is, yeah, everybody that's not Dak, that's not Dez, and that's not Zeke, we're not standing for that from you. And I don't know. I think that's a good way to lose a locker room, right? When you feel like the coach doesn't have your back unless you're a star, like, what does that say about you? Like, you're pitching in for this team too. And I understand that that's just the way the world works. Like, I get it. It's just life. We don't all get treated the same, right? People with connections are able to get away with stuff that people who don't have connections aren't. But, you know, I always thought we should try. Like, if we're gonna say we're gonna be fair, I always thought we should at least give it our best shot. Let's try and be fair about this. And this is so blatantly, obviously not fair. And the Cowboys are so blatantly and obviously not trying that I don't think this says really great things about Dallas. And I don't think this says really great things about Jason Garrett. And it certainly doesn't say anything about your discipline. Like, for me to know that the team's not going to have my back if I'm not a star, that would worry me on a team, right? And it's not even one of those things that's like, stay out of trouble. Because Lucky wasn't even there. He wasn't even in the state, which is crazy, right? He was not even in the state. It's not like, okay, well, if he had just stayed out of trouble, he wouldn't have brought this on himself. He wasn't even there. Meanwhile, Ezekiel Elliott may or may not have punched a club DJ. Not sure. Not trying to be sued for asserting it either. Just not sure. May or may not have punched the guy. But he was there. He put himself in the position to where that story could even reflect back on him. Like, you're really close to training camp. Why are you at the club anyway? Right? And I'm not saying the guy can't enjoy himself, but I'm saying he was there. Like, you have reason to at least suspect something. Nothing from the Cowboys. Lucky's not there. There's no proof that he was there. Cut him from the team. I mean, the disparity between the guy that you think has talent and the guy that you think doesn't is so obvious and wide. And for you to not even pretend, for you to not even make a good show out of acting like your locker room has any particular kind of structure is bizarre to me. It's just bizarre. Clutch with Keon Rose at AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. So, Brett Bielema in Arkansas. We've been doing this Bielema dance for a while, and I don't want Brett Bielema to be fired, to be clear. There are two guys in the SEC at this point that I hope never get fired. I hope Ed Orgeron never gets fired because I've never heard anybody talk like that. He says words, and I can't understand what he's saying, but it's the most entertaining thing that I hear on any given day. And I hope that Brett Bielema never gets fired because you never know what Brett Bielema is going to say. Look, when you're in the media, you root for the guy that says the interesting stuff, okay? And I'm not going to lie, that might be at least a little bit why I have a relatively anti-Butch Jones stance on things. Because you root for the guy that gives you something in an interview. And Butch Jones gives you nothing. Brett Bielema gives you the world. Brett Bielema's got everything. He's got the full package. He's got the Freudian slips. He's got the bold statements. He's got the guaranteed victories. I mean, Brett Bielema is just an interesting dude. Okay? I find him to be very fascinating, and I hope he never gets fired. But he's in a situation now where he's got a very, very good football team. And I thought this last year as well, but it's actually more true now than it was a year ago. The SEC West is in an interesting spot because LSU is in a transition. Alabama might actually, for once, be in a down year, though we're never certain. Ole Miss has got all of their problems. Mississippi State's probably the most consistent of the bunch. Texas A&M is on a super down year. Kevin Sumlin might be out the door. This is as wide open as the West has been. This is it. I mean, if you're not going to be one of the top three contending teams in the SEC West this year, when is it going to happen if you're Brett Bielema and the Arkansas Razorbacks? When's it going to happen for you? Because I don't know. I don't think it can. When do you reckon any of this is going to actually happen? Because it's time to start looking for another dude if you see this year go by and Brett Bielema was not able to get it done. And it's nothing against Brett Bielema, who is a very good football coach. But there is a certain level of, is Brett Bielema the guy? And we don't know. Or is Brett Bielema the guy before the guy, right? The guy is Phil Jackson. The guy before the guy is Doug Collins. Right? I mean, Doug Collins coached Michael Jordan forever. Nothing. Phil Jackson shows up, 3 rings. Is he the guy or is he the guy before the guy? I mean, there's a certain level of okay, we can now build on what Brett Bielema created and see if we can't take this up another level. But if you don't win this year, Alabama's going to retool. It's hard to imagine that A&M stays down because they can recruit in Texas. It's hard to imagine LSU doesn't find a quarterback better than Danny Etling, and then you're out of it again. This is it. If you're Brett Bielema in Arkansas, this is it. You've been listening to Clutch with Keon Rose here on AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. Thank you for listening. By the way, remember, folks, it's not how you start. It's how you finish. Stay clutch, everybody, and I'll see you all in 24 hours.
In-depth traffic, news, and information. Mornings on Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
Essential oils are an overlooked benefit. They're a remedy for allergies, sinuses, headaches, and sleep problems. Aches and pains? Let me help you live a better life. Hi, Loretta Lynn here. It's a free consult. Call me today. Look, I'll even give you a free bottle of essential oil. 423-605-4719. Loretta Lynn's Essential Oils. They've been around for thousands of years. They can even be an alternative to pesticides in your garden. Call today. That's 423-605-4719 and take control of your health.
Hi, this is Eric Pelton. taxes, accounting, business advice. I've got a neat brochure, 12 ways to improve your business profits. Come on by for a free consultation and we'll give you a copy. E.J. Pelton Company, 332-3339.
Essential oils are an overlooked benefit. They're a remedy for allergies, sinuses, headaches, and sleep problems. Aches and pains? Let me help you live a better life. Hi, Loretta Lynn here. It's a free consult. Call me today. Look, I'll even give you a free bottle of essential oil. 423-605-4719. Loretta Lynn's Essential Oils. They've been around for thousands of years. They can even be an alternative to pesticides in your garden. Call today. That's 423-605-4719 and take control of your health.